Hello everyone, welcome to Kill the Cast presents Jerry Hates Action, where I bitch about action movies and people get pissed off about it. And of course, joining me is the Silent Hill biker himself, Kenneth.
Hi!
That was
How
very
are you?
enthusiastic, I liked it.
A little bit different than my normal introduction.
And the ever-quotable Jay.
I feel the need to get to the chopper.
That was pretty good.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And then, joining us from Legion Podcast, Who Will Survive Podcast, it is Paul Stevenson.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yes, and Paul is here because when I was on his show,
That's right.
his Friends Till the End show, I asked him if what movie would he want to come on Kill the Cast and do, and he said Predator.
Right.
So we're not doing Predator on Kill the Cast. We're doing it for Jerry Hates Action. So I was like, well, come on this anyway. It'll be great. So that's what
Close
we're
enough.
doing. So tonight
Yeah.
we're tackling Predator and we're tackling Top Gun. And I'm sure by the end of this, some of you will hate me. And I'm sure by the end of this, I'm not going to care and I'm going to sleep like a baby. So it's all good.
Fucker. At least you get to sleep like a baby, you dick.
Yeah, I do. Now that I'm all like working on my health, I sleep through the night. It's fantastic.
Very good.
I'm
didn't know
so
what I
happy
was
to hear that.
missing. So yeah, first we're going to start with Predator, starring two former governors.
Indeed.
Starring Apollo Creed.
That's
Starring the guy who did the new Predator movie.
Yep.
And directed Iron Man 3.
And directed Iron Man 3. Oh, that's not a good thing to bring up. And The Jungle,
Yes.
I guess.
Well, I'll be damned. I didn't pay attention to him directing Iron Man 3.
And Billy from the 48 Hours, right? The Native American guy was also the bad guy.
Yeah, you're right.
And one of the bad guys in 48 Hours.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
never actually watched that movie.
Bring
Oh,
that
it's
back.
pretty good.
I didn't even think about it.
He's in a few other things too. He's one of those recognizable faces where you're like, oh, that's the Native American guy that was always the bad Native American guy in 80s movies.
Not
It's
in
the
this
only
one.
hire one.
He's a good guy.
That's
I
right.
guess.
Yeah.
Depending on what
The goodest of
side
guys.
of terrorism you stand on, he's the good guy.
That's right.
So this movie starts out pretty low key. You get Dutch and Dylan. They're boys, or at least they're pretending to be boys. They do a weird in the air arm wrestle thing.
Yeah.
So sexy.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, I just think it's weird they were arm wrestling in the air. I've never done that.
It's just to show you how manly they are.
Yeah,
the
it's,
whole-
it's
their
like
delicious
asserting your
biceps.
dominance. Right.
I think
The
I
whole point
got
of that
how
scene was to show muscles.
I think I got how manly they are when I saw their fucking bone structures in their face. I got it.
Good
movie.
point.
You're good. So they used to hang out together and blah blah blah. They're macho, being macho, super macho, so first bad thing in this movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger is told, or Dutch is told that Dylan has to go with him, and Dutch is like, no, we don't work with people. And white dude's like, I don't give a shit. We've all got orders. And Arnold Schwarzenegger's like, yeah, fuck my principles. It's all good.
Like us, orders are orders, right?
Orders are orders, but I'm like super confused whether Arnold Schwarzenegger is officially in the military or not.
Sure. Yeah, I think he's in the military, but he's very guerrilla is his character. He's off doing his own thing for sure.
Yeah, but
see,
He's doing Black Ops.
Right,
yeah,
right.
I got more of that, what's the word I'm looking for? Where you hire somebody to do
Like a mercenary.
Mercenary.
Yeah, I got more of the mercenary feel.
Which he does say that they turned down a mission because they're a rescue team. They're not assassins. So apparently they've tried to get him to be an assassin.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
That's Commando. That's after Predator.
That's right.
In the timeline of Arnold movies.
That's right.
But yeah, so my point is this okay? So this movie is filled with a lot of things that, if you pay attention, are just fucking stupid.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We just start off with that. So then they get in the air and they find out there's no backup or anything like that. And for an elite fucking squad, you think they would have figured out those details before they jump in the chopper and fly out there? Whatever. Okay.
Yeah, they're like, fuck it.
Yeah, that's fine. So then they find a shit ton of dead bodies that are skinned, and they knew one of the guys.
That was beautiful too. Those skinned bodies looked awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd say
Dan
that.
Winston does good effects.
Yeah, that was pretty rocking. So they find that they have more bullshit conversation that does not matter. Then they find the base. They find the guerrilla base where they're supposed to be. They sit there and scout out everything, watch someone get shot in the fucking head, right on top of a bunch of grain, which if I wouldn't have done that. I would have kept my food separate from dead bodies.
You'd think, right?
This takes place in what, South America, in the jungle in South America?
I don't know because they
I
speak.
think it's Central America. I think it's labeled as.
I really just don't think they give a shit down there. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Okay.
I just.
Maybe the ones speaking Spanish don't, but what about the Russian ones?
I don't think they
True.
give a shit either.
What
Yeah,
is
they're
wrong
like, we'll
with these
eat some
people?
blood.
There are people starving in Africa, and they're killing people on top of their grain.
Yeah, they'll
I'm
just
pretty
eat the
sure
blood,
those
though.
starving people in Africa wouldn't give a shit if they were eating blood-soaked grain either.
Yeah.
That's true.
Cook it a little bit. The germs go away.
I know what we do. We sell the bloody ice cubes from Psycho 3 to Africans who are starving.
I mean, I was just going to say, have you ever heard
That's
anything about
mean.
Africa? They got enough diseases over there, man, to where they don't even have to worry about the shit from South America. The disease in Africa will kick goddamn Central America's disease ass.
They
Sure,
fucking
sure.
mainline malaria over there. For
That's
fun.
what I'm saying, dude.
Yeah, we
That's
laugh
my
at your
favorite
disease.
These are motherfuckers that goddamn snort gunpowder and damn sleep with chicks that they know have AIDS and don't care whether they wear a rubber or not. That's what I'm talking about in Africa.
Thanks.
Fuck the Central America shit.
Yeah. So anyway, they all sneak into the camp, and then they just all open fire after Arnold Schwarzenegger finds a old busted truck that's not being used as a truck that has perfect alignment and runs it into where people are eating grain,
I actually thought
most
that was
likely.
cool.
What?
I like this. I like the where he thought about the damn the truck going down the thing, because at first they wouldn't have turned around to look and see if somebody had knocked it over. It'd be one of the things where they just thought it was an accident. I thought that was pretty cool.
Sure. He's definitely clever.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah, you get to see his thinking face a lot in this movie, where he just like looks directly into the camera with his eyes all the way to the side.
Yeah, and he's not very one-linery in this movie. There's a couple here and there, but I mean, there's quotable lines, but there's not repeated one-liners like the Running Man era and stuff that we get later from him.
Speaking of shitty one-liners, I don't care how good you are, you don't drop a shitty knock-knock joke right before you shoot people. You're supposed to be sneaking up on them, okay?
No, the sneaky part was already done.
No, it wasn't. You literally announced yourself, gave them time to turn around and look at you before you shot. You were just either showing off at that point, or you want to tell half-done jokes because you didn't even finish the joke. You were just like, guess who? That's it. Didn't even finish it.
Yeah, he didn't want to shoot him in the back, I guess.
Why would he give a shit? He ran a exploding truck into them while they were sitting down eating.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
I think what's funny about this whole part too is that they just seem to have unlimited grenade launcher, rocket launcher type things that just way overpower this place, and they blow up every single building except the one that they needed to go into that they were going to get the information from.
Yeah, they're supposed to rescue a hostage, but they're just shooting willy-nilly. And
Yeah, they just blow up
Jesse,
everything.
the fucking body Ventura, is holding a gun up that you know, those are the type of guns that get put on fucking stands.
Yeah, that's a mounted gun.
Yeah, that's a mounted gun. And
but he's
with how
a
many
mountain.
bullets that thing's shooting, the weight he would have to carry, no, get the fuck out of here.
I'm gonna send that into Hollywood Weapons and see if that damn put that on the show.
Call Mythbusters. We need Mythbusters.
No. Hollywood
Right.
Weapons is like the Mythbusters for shit like that in movies.
Oh,
So
nice.
they did this one where the guy got up, like we've all seen Die Hard, and you know the scene in Die Hard where he gets up underneath the table and he shoots the dude through the table who's standing on the table.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they recreated that on Hollywood Weapons to see if it would actually work, and turns out it actually would. And they also did the one where Bruce Willis is hanging outside of the building, and he fucking swings his body back and then shoots the glass and busts through the glass. They did that one on that show too.
Did that work?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it actually did. It didn't work
That
as
makes
well.
sense.
It didn't work as well as it did in the movie because it's got that fucking film over it to keep the glass from busting like that. But
So
the guy did make it through the glass.
let me ask this, because obviously I know how Jerry feels, but do you guys expect realism in your action movies? Because I don't. I don't expect anything.
No, I don't
I
either.
expect it to work within the confines of the movie. So if the movie shows me this guy can hold this gun, I don't say, yeah, he wouldn't be able to do that in real life.
I think there's a line where, at least when it comes to the tactical stuff, like the gun play and the fighting and stuff, where you want to see some realism. When it gets to the point of, excuse me, like later movies in Commando, when he just holds a machine gun and he just waves it back and forth nilly-willy, and all the bad guys just do backflips because he shot them.
Well,
Then
there's
it's
a
like,
lot
okay,
of
well,
that
that's-
in this scene that we're talking about right now, too.
Yeah, this one is not even as bad as it gets later in them, I think, where it really gets off the hook. But yeah, to some degree, yes, but not super realism either. You want some of that deniability of reality where you're like, well, of course he's the super soldier, so he's going to know how to do this, and he's going to have all the right answers, and kind of the Indiana Jones theory where he just knows what to do all the time.
All right, Kenneth,
Fair enough.
what about you?
I think it depends on the film. Like during the 80s, movies that came out in the 80s and the early 90s, more than likely, most of the time, no, I wasn't really looking for realism. I mean, it's just like some of them out there are absolutely ridiculous. You know that they're absolutely ridiculous going in. Then you got other ones that have central focus on a hero, and you know that hero is going to be able to damn splatter everybody that he gets shooting at, and then not one motherfucker other than that hero has aim worth of shit, like Rambo.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? Rambo can hit everybody with one fucking bullet, and everybody else is goddamn spraying machine guns at him, and nobody hits him. And if he does
love
get hit,
Rambo
he
so
gets hit by
much.
fucking shrapnel or something.
Right.
You know,
like stormtroopers.
right? Exactly. Exactly. And so, movies like that, no. But as we progressed through action movies into the new millennium, there's a lot more realism that's added into some of these action movies. Now, I'm not talking about like Transporter or Fast and Furious or something like that, but like Jason Bourne, the technical side of the choreography for the fight scenes and that is really based off of real fighting that they teach some of these Black Ops types guys in this stuff. And so the combination of the two, there really is realism there. And so I think it's kind of, I think going into the movie, I think it depends on the tone of the movie, whether I'm looking for realism or not.
That's fair. I really like Jason Bourne. I don't like the choppy editing. I really hate choppy editing. And that actually brings me back to Predator, because in this scene, there's a lot of choppy editing.
Oh, I don't
Somebody
get to
will
answer
stand
the
in front of the
question?
camera.
Okay, fuck me then.
What?
I don't get to answer the question?
You just hate action in general, so.
I know, but I do have an opinion
let's
on
hear
this.
your answer. I didn't mean to skip over you. I'm sorry.
I feel neglected, Jay. Ever since I got diabetes, you treat me differently.
That's right. You're like Scott Melkinson on South Park.
Yeah. Okay, so in any movie, regardless of genre, I completely base it on the movie. If the movie is based in the correct time on planet Earth, I expect it to follow the physics of that. I expect it to follow the science of that. Now that's for the humans on Earth. The Predator, I don't know what kind of alien technology he has. he can do whatever the fuck he wants to. As far as I'm concerned, the neon green was his cum. And he just fucking just started jacking off in the middle of the fight. But when it comes to action movies, they a lot of times do get away with just completely throwing it out the fucking window. Especially when it comes to physics. And that is something I do have a problem with. If you're set in the future, if you're set in some sci-fi thing, or like some of Arnold Schwarzenegger's future movies he's gonna do are super sci-fi, and it's like, okay, yeah, you can do whatever you want at that point if you're setting up. But this is set up in real world fucking Earth.
Sure. Yeah,
So
I agree. There is a lot of unbelievability as far as their abilities of what they are able to do.
Dude gets an arm shot off. And the gun keeps firing, even though you can clearly see his trigger finger is not on the trigger.
I had a real. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. That was one of the things that I was gonna bring up later. I'd never paid attention to it until I watched it for the show, and I was really upset about that.
So I've noticed that before. Also, dude loses an arm from the same weapon that just singes Arnold.
Yeah, Jesse Ventura gets his fucking chest blown the fuck open.
Yeah, I know.
And Arnold just takes like this tiny scratch.
Yeah, that one scene he gets shot right in the front of his shoulder and he's all bloody, and then the next scene he's running through the forest and he's not even bloody at all.
No, he has a tiny little scratch.
Damn, he must be like Wolverine or something.
Yeah. So we find out that Dylan has set them up with a false story to stop an invasion. But Dutch don't give a shit because he doesn't do this kind of bullshit work, and he probably just doesn't believe him. Also, Shane Black, your pussy jokes are not funny. Please stop.
They made me chuckle.
Just please stop. No.
But you got to look at all right, that's one of those things where I have to break it down to the time period. Shit like that was a lot funnier then than the fucking. You look at from the time period that movie came out to the evolution of fucking absolutely gratuitous, vulgar humor that we have now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, a 5-minute skit from a comedian makes those jokes look like they fucking came out of a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Versus at the time. So
and what's worse is the jokes, they apparently like the jokes so much that they continued it into Predator 2 with another guy who makes similar fucking long-winded jokes that no one wants to hear.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I can't remember which character, but I want to say, is that the Bill Paxton character that does it in that one?
He's constantly telling people jokes and no one cares. Just like Shane Black in this one.
Sure.
And
where did Shane Black get glasses that are that big? Like, I know that it was the 80s, but Jesus.
Fair
no,
enough.
they were handing them out. I was born in 84, and I still have a pair of those. Like, you literally get them as you leave the ER, whether you need them or not.
So, Hopper gets fucked up, and I will say the pan-up shot to reveal Hopper's body was really good. Super good. But then right after that, Sergeant Slaughter catches a plasma shot to the chest. He's fucking dead. And then the super cool dark dude starts laying down fire as the rest join him and just annihilating everything. They just shoot fucking everything everywhere.
Oh, I was sitting there and I was still thinking about, you said Hopper, and I was just like, oh, he's talking about Hawkins.
Oh,
Is it Hawkins?
Yeah, it's Hawkins. Hawkins was the one. He was the first one to get killed after the battle.
Okay, I don't know why I have Hopper, but
Hopper was the guy that they knew that was there before that went missing, that they found his dog tags.
Okay. So they shoot everything. Now, I don't blame them for shooting everything. Some people said I was going to say that this scene is pointless.
It was a little bit stupid, I think, but
at the same time, they mentioned earlier that they're surrounded by gorillas that we never see, by the way. There's not a black one. There's not a silverback. None of them. I'm over here all excited like, oh shit, it's about to turn into a prequel to Congo. Never fucking happens. But so they start shooting everywhere because they think maybe it's the gorillas. They have no idea where it is. So I don't think this scene is pointless. I get the scene. I'm okay with it.
But the thing about it is I've got you know, when I can't remember dude's name, but when he picks up the minigun and he just starts blasting through there, I think his is strictly based on fear because he saw
Right.
what he saw. He didn't it because I imagine if it had been something where he'd have saw something that looked like a man, he would have went back to his training and conserved his ammo, things like that. But I mean, at this point, this dude was so wigged out about what he saw. His buddy just died, and he was so wigged out about what he saw that I couldn't even give you a count of how many rounds that he went through.
Yeah, and
Sure.
that makes sense with how he acts for the rest of the movie.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, he's all fucked up for the rest of it. And I mean, so you know, I kind of agree with you. I mean, that scene completely has purpose to me because it shows that guy's vulnerability, and then it also shows, you know, the vulnerability and the fear that's creeping up on the other people. I mean, Hawkins is dead, their buddy's dead.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I mean, they're just starting to get fucking wigged out. They're like, okay, we're the best of the best, and we're getting our asses handed to us by somebody.
Yeah. So
Sure.
now
Yeah.
we actually move into my favorite part of the movie. Between
The Home Alone segment?
no, between now and that Home Alone segment is my favorite part of the movie. This is where the mystery of the movie really starts really affecting the atmosphere. Them not know what's going on. You've got the super cool tall black dude like dead set on getting revenge. You've got the Native American guy like his death kind of sucks because we don't get to see it. It's all this build up for nothing. So fuck them for that.
I will say, kind of on topic, in Predators, the
No,
third one.
haven't seen it. Can't talk about
Oh,
it.
okay.
Nope. I plan
Really,
on watching.
you hadn't seen Predators?
I have not. No, the one with fucking
Adrian Brody?
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I own it. I've never watched it, and
Dude.
I plan on watching it soon.
You should watch
out,
it,
bro.
because I really think you'll actually enjoy that one because it starts with atmosphere.
Yeah. So yeah, at this
That's
point, the
probably
movie,
my favorite.
we'll see if it beats
It's
Predator 2.
It's Predator for me in the lineup, you know, because I'm not even going to count AVP. I mean, I enjoyed the first AVP, but I'm not even going to count those, and I haven't seen the new one. I would probably have to say Predators is my favorite, then the original, and then part 2.
Okay.
Yes.
So at this point in the movie, it starts coming off way more serious, and
Mhm.
and all the action moves are so deliberate.
Sure. Well, and this is where you get the transition of where it goes from this military procedural to now it becomes a horror movie, in my opinion.
Oh
Where
yeah,
they're
it
being
definitely
stalked by a
has
monster that they don't know.
slasher-esque things.
Mhm.
And the killing of Mac. Oh man, that headshot was so good with the Predator just landing on top of the fucking wood and just killing super cool black dude. Oh my
Right.
god, that was good.
Yeah, when they had that whole camp scene where they set the traps and then they think that the predator comes, but it's like a wild boar that he flips out. But then while they're doing that, the boar actually steals the body and takes it away. And then they go to check on the girl and she's just cowering. And they're like, why didn't you try and run away? And she's like, she's so scared that she would rather stay here with us and be a prisoner than run away.
And then
I
all
thought
of a
that was
sudden
cool.
learns fucking English.
Yeah.
And sees green alien goop and is like, oh shit, let me stick my hand in this. Not
Yeah,
even
man, it's
Africans
amazing.
would have done that.
It's amazing what fear will do to you, man. It'll fucking teach you English in seconds.
Right. Well, she was the only one that saw it after the big forest mow down thing when they shot the forest and they hit him and they walked through, and she was the only one that actually saw it that time. And then she saw it a second time and was like, hey, I think this is something.
Yeah. Yeah, figuring out everything little by little, and I actually really do enjoy that, how they start putting it all together. Even though they're making leaps and bounds, they're like, we found green goop, we don't know, it's obviously blood, and I'm like, how do you know that's fucking blood? Like,
Right.
that
yeah.
could literally, it could be semen, it could be spit, it could be fucking liquid that powers his fucking gun. You have no idea.
Yeah,
But
radioactive
that's-
fuel. or
That
something.
scene where the predator is fixing the wound in his leg,
Oh.
that was pretty fucking good, man.
I really like that because it kind of, I don't want to say humanized, but it showed that the predator could be hurt. It showed that there is a chance. It showed that it has to take care of itself just as well. That I was a big fan of that scene. I'm glad
Yeah.
you
If
brought
it
that up.
bleeds, we can kill it.
And I think that's the first time they actually show the monster full on in the movie, which is not even till like an hour in.
Yeah.
Everything else is just glimpses or that weird kind of not good looking effect now.
Yeah, the invisibility, quote unquote.
It was cool at the time, but it doesn't look so great now.
No, it does not.
So it really doesn't. So Apollo
I still
Creed,
dig it. Fuck y'all.
Apollo Creed gets his arm blown off. We talked about the shitty gun scene there.
Well, he definitely won't get another round with Rocky after that.
No.
No, he won't even get another round with Drago.
Or
Okay. Now, the end of the movie. Now we get into the last part of the movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger gets chased by the Predator, and he jumps in the water. And he comes out of the water. He's covered.
Wait.
What?
All right, I got to talk about something first. That scene, right after they do all the traps and everything, and that big ass fucking log hits that dude in the chest.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, man. I sat there and I watched that scene a couple of times and I was like, Jesus, that would fucking hurt. I mean, you know, every goddamn rib on that dude was broke. And he's still trying to get away. That's how scared you know that dude was. Because I was just sitting there thinking about it. I was like, holy fuck, man. You know that shit hurts.
Oh yeah. So the third
mud
part
mask.
of this movie gets really fucking stupid. Really fucking stupid. Let's talk about how mud works. And how that would not have worked at fucking all.
No.
Because either that mud is colder than you or warmer than you. Either way, your eyes are still not covered. He could see your fucking eyeballs because they give off heat. He would still see this weird human-like fucking thing covered, just sitting at a tree.
There's still, all right. That's actually something I want to get theories on. Now, like later on, we know that we learn that the Predator is based off of heat sense, but not in this movie. It doesn't ever say that his vision is. And then when you look at it, naturally you automatically assume that that's what it is. But there are things about it, man, that I'm just like, there's got to be more to his vision. And the reason why I say that is because he is in a hot ass fucking jungle, and the only thing that he can goddamn see is the heat coming off of the humans. I mean,
it's true. The whole jungle would be like 100 degrees, right?
Right, and then think about. I mean, if any of y'all ever look through actual heat-seeking or heat vision type scopes or things like that, when you look through them, man, and you look in a room that's 70 degrees, that room is not blue. The whole goddamn room is lit up. All right, and then on top of that, inside of a jungle, you've got. I couldn't even name all the fucking animals that live in a jungle. You'd be seeing goddamn orange blips and shit all over the fucking place.
Okay, so
I'm like, and I know that I'm reading too far into this, and I get it, but at the same time, it could be one of those things that's a negative towards the movie because it's like they never really explain
I'm so glad you brought this up. I wanted to talk about this. I wasn't going as far as you were going, but the entire Predator vision thing is fucking stupid. It looks terrible.
Yeah, it does look like shit.
It does not add anything to the movie. At no point was I like, oh man, look at the Predator view. No, it looks fucking awful. And it looks even worse when he takes his fucking helmet off. Those motherfuckers are blind.
I completely agree with you.
Which they shouldn't be, because the entire movie he's jumping around from tree to tree. You've got to be able to see where the fuck you're going to do that. And if everything is just a blue blob, I don't think that's how he sees. That doesn't. And even in the second one, they're like, oh yeah, we learned that they see off of heat vision, and then the Predator turns on a different sight. It's like, why are they underpowering the soldier in the first one, giving the second one better technology?
Right.
Well, here's the thing. He may just only be using, like, okay, so he's there to hunt, and we don't know what the rules of the hunt are. So he may only be able to, they could have been like, you're only allowed to use this Snapchat filter on your vision, and the plasma gun, and your claws on your hands. That's it. You're also not allowed to trim your nails. Have to grow up as much as possible. Which is very inconvenient when you're trying to clean skulls, by the way.
That's right. They're totally in the way.
So,
but when he snatches the spine out with the skull still attached to it, I thought that was pretty awesome.
yeah, that was dope.
awesome.
It's better in part 2, but whatever.
Right. But yeah, man, I mean, it's just, I don't know. That was one of those things that I had to bring up because I'm just like, I'm with you. The more that I looked at it, I was just like, damn, man. And you can't see a fucking thing when he takes his damn helmet off.
Sure.
Yeah.
I will say from a nostalgia point of view that I remember being a kid watching it and thinking that it was cool just because it did that sound effect when it switches.
Yeah.
And it just makes it seem more tense where you're like, oh shit, the predator sees them. And you're like, it's more about the moment, I think, and what's happening than what it actually looks like. But now seeing it through more refined adult eyes, I'm like, this does not add anything. They use it way too much.
Yeah,
right.
it's a really, really bad issue with the movie.
Yeah, because I've looked through a heat scope on a rifle at a gun convention, and it doesn't look anything like that. It actually looks a whole lot more badass than that.
Yeah, it was just terrible filters. I don't know what the fuck they were doing. And then we get into I've already talked about how the mud thing's stupid and does not fucking work.
No, it just makes them look cool, I think.
It doesn't work so much that Arnold has to look at the camera and be like, he can't see me. He figures out that it's heat vision from that point. I don't think they clearly state that, but I think it's safe to assume that in his profession he figures it out.
Right.
That the mud is cloaking him.
Yeah, it blocks it somehow. Whether it's that they sense some sort of cell structure or biology or something, but
now that I've sold him as being super smart, guess what this fucking idiot does? He builds a fire.
I thought he did that on purpose to attract the predator.
No. When he does build a fire to attract the predator, but he literally builds a fire to build his arsenal and set his traps. Which the predator could have found at any point easily.
You're talking about the little fire.
Yes, that little fire.
Mm-hmm.
right.
I have a problem with that because I'm just like, you literally just figured it out. Then you're like, I'm going to put more mud on me in front of a fucking fire. Like, that's not going to make you look even hotter.
Yeah. That are like also sexually hotter.
Yes,
He's a sexy dirty boy.
Was oddly attractive to the situation. I don't know why.
It's all crispy and shit.
Don't worry, it's natural.
Let me go, Kenneth. You're the closest thing to an expert on bow and arrows that we have here, because
I am a master archer.
I don't believe that, but Kenneth actually does own bows. I have an arrow he made here, actually. And he does shoot bow and arrows. Do you honestly believe that arrow he made out of a fucking twig would have shot and stuck into that tree?
First off, I don't know exactly what he made it out of, but
I mean, what other options would he have?
Going from the diameter of what he used, that fucking arrow was probably about as big around as my bird finger. And so do I think that it would, if it were done right, do I think it had enough power to do it at that close of a range? Probably. Because the thing that he uses to make that bow out of, in real life, only somebody as big as Schwarzenegger that knew what he was doing would be able to pull that fucking thing back. Because, damn, it looked like from the way that he made it, that thing has got to have at least 150 pounds of pull on it. That's damn near as much as they used for English war bows back in the day.
It is gigantic.
I mean, it was insane how big that. So if you've got a 150 pounds, 150 to 200 pounds of draw weight on that bow, it's entirely possible to get an arrow to go through a tree that's about 6 to 7 inches in diameter. Absolutely.
But given the fact that what he most likely made that arrow out of being, sharpening a twig or a
well, he didn't if you look at it close, what he made the arrowheads out of, it wasn't just the end of the twig. He made it out of some form of metal. You got to look at it close. But he does.
Okay.
The arrowhead is made out of some kind of metal. And I don't know what it was made out of, but he made it out of metal. If you pause it and look at it, it's made out of metal. It's not just the tip of it. sharpened up. Now, like I know this guy that I went and saw at a primitive arts festival. He would basically what he'd do is he'd take a piece of river cane, and you've seen the one that I got that's actually got a flint napped arrowhead on it. But the other way he would do it is he would take a knife and he would cut the tip of the river cane at an angle, and when he cut it at the angle, it basically fucking pulled it all the way down to a fine point. And I saw him shoot that. It wouldn't go through a tree, obviously, but I saw him shoot that, and it went through something that was pretty close to the consistency of the human body, and the arrow went right through it. And that was only with about, I don't know, I think he only had about 55 pounds of draw weight on the bow that he shot that piece of river cane that he just sharpened the tip of through it.
Well, damn. Okay, then. I will take your word on the arrow thing because you know more about arrows than I do, and I'll give that a pass. Because at first I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I mean, if he'd have been at like 50 yards, then I'd have been like, yeah, probably not. But he looked like he was probably at maybe 10 or 15 yards, man. And like I said, with a bow that's got 150 pounds of draw weight or something like that, it's going to be shooting that fucking arrow so goddamn fast with so much power that it probably would.
Yeah. You know what I don't get? If the Predator uses heat vision, why would your main weapon be a thing that causes giant fucking explosions filled with heat? Like, so we're in this final battle with Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Predator, and Schwarzenegger's in his fake mud hiding skills.
Right.
And the Predator is just shooting like crazy because he can't figure out where he is. And I'm like, isn't this just making your vision worse?
Yeah, right. It's counterintuitive.
Yeah, I just don't. I didn't really understand that. But then it's time to fucking fight it out. No more guns. None of this bullshit. It is fucking take off the mask. Even though you could have literally just killed him, you walk away and take off your fucking mask.
Put up the dukes.
Yeah,
I think that's the point. I mean, that's the point. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like at this point, it's the Predator being like, okay, you put up a good fight. You know, we're fixing to fucking settle this shit. We're going to go at it hand to hand.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely.
Plus, they want to show off the cool face. So
yeah, and it looks fucking amazing.
Yeah. It works way better than a Bond villain explaining the entire plot to him while Bond escapes.
Yes, absolutely.
Is it weird that I love like Sean Connery James Bond movies and fucking Daniel Craig James Bond movies?
No.
Daniel Craig makes sense because that's super realistic, but it doesn't make sense to me that you like the old James Bond movies.
It's because the old James Bond movies are more of an adventure movie with gadgets and shit like that than it is fucking our over-the-top action movies.
But
that
like
makes sense.
Submarine cars and shit, that doesn't bother you the same way a guy holding a giant machine gun does?
No, because Q is a genius and he invented it. Okay? Jesse the Body Ventura didn't invent something that would power that gun because most guns like that have to have like extra power to them. And he's not fucking gonna be able to stand holding 900 pounds of fucking bullets and deal with all that recoil. I don't give a fuck if you were the governor of Minnesota. There's no fucking way you're doing that.
Right.
It's really unrealistic. I'll give you that. It's more realistic for the Terminator to do it in Terminator 2.
Yes.
Yeah, I can believe that. He's fucking machine. I can get that. He's got a USB power plugged into it and everything.
Right, he's got a lot of RAM.
Yeah. So,
Lordy.
how do y'all feel about this final showdown? Like, Jay, how do you feel about this final showdown between Predator and Dutch?
The only part I really don't like is the stupid emulating the laugh. I thought that was terrible.
Yes, that is.
They've done it in almost all the movies where they imitate human sound. I always assumed it was the mask. Him laughing like a human with the mask off is the stupidest fucking thing. that really it takes me out of the moment completely. And I love stupid action movies. So besides that, it was okay. The actual like showdown was entertaining enough.
All right, Paul, what did you think of this battle royale at the end?
Sure. So, like going from the fight into him baiting him into the traps that he set, I always love that part. But again, this is one of very few nostalgia movies that I hold kind of dear to me. So, I always remember kind of hitting that point of the movie and being like, all right, this is where he's gonna take over and he's gonna trick him, but then he's not gonna trick him. But like, you know what I mean? I always was kind of just awestruck with the way that he comes back and actually wins. I mean, looking at it now, there's obviously a whole lot of conveniences that go his way in order for that shit to happen, but it's just sort of the action movie magic that needs to happen to make things go their way. So I personally love it, but I'm not too in love with it to not see the kind of cracks in the surface. So
all right, Kenneth.
I enjoyed the end showdown. I mean, like I said earlier, when he takes his helmet off and you see what his face looks like. I mean, that was just fucking. I'm sorry. The first time that you see what a predator looks like underneath the mask is like to me a hallmark in damn sci-fi horror history. Because I mean, it was just superb. And then, the fight between the two of them themselves, like when you see the part where the predator realizes that he's going in a trap and he starts walking around and fucking Dutch is just like, oh, fuck. And then he realizes that he's got his little thing right there that he could do and whatever. I just loved it. I thought it was great. I agree with y'all on the laugh part of it. I think that was kind of stupid. But the rest of it, I thought it was good. The only thing that I'm torn between whether the Predator was a sore loser or he was just covering his tracks so nobody knew who he was.
Sure.
When he blew himself up, I'm just like, okay, I can understand.
I don't think it was a sore loser. I think it was he knew he was beat and he was going to try and take his opponent with him because we see it before.
Sure.
And it could also have to do with covering the tracks because.
Yeah, that's what
am I allowed to talk about Alien versus Predator Part 2?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've seen that one.
So we see that in the Predator world that they will try and erase knowledge of themselves because he comes to Earth and starts like burning all the evidence.
Right.
Not that has any bearing on this movie since it didn't exist at the time, but within the society of predators, it is a thing that they do.
Retcom action. Right.
But otherwise, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie all the way around.
So I think the ending's okay. I just don't really get into the trap. I kind of felt when the Predator realized he was walking into a trap, so he walked to the side of it, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger was like, "Oh, but I got this one over here." I almost felt like the first time I watched Friday the 13th Part 5, and they reveal Roy's the killer, and you're like, who the fuck is Roy? Like, I felt the same way where I was like, where the fuck did this trap come from? And I'm sure it's set up, and I'm sure if I go back and rewatch it, I'll see that trap set up.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing about it. It's not that part that fell on him is not the main part of the trap. Okay, that's the weight system that's supposed to pull where if the Predator had actually went underneath the thing with the spikes, it would have pulled it to where those damn spikes would have got hung up in him.
Oh, okay.
So when he walked to the other side, he realized that the weight system was on there, and he was just like, "Oh, okay." Because if I'm not mistaken, the vines that were on the ground, what they would have done when the Predator crawled through and he would have hit that thing, the fucking vines would have pulled him up onto the spikes.
Oh, right.
And that was the way that was supposed to work. And then the log was the weight system that was supposed to be able to pull him up on the spikes. But then he realized that the spikes were there. So fucking Schwarzenegger, when he looked up, he noticed it, and he was like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm fucking just fixing to drop this goddamn log on top of him and hope for the best."
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
I do like that he killed him and defeated him using all primitive weaponry, though. I think that was cool that he had to kind of strip it down to the bare essentials. in order to beat this, future technology.
Yeah,
see, that was something that worked in his favor, because there was something earlier when they did the first time around with the traps. He could see they made a comment that the Predator could see the tripwires when they when the boar went in. He had made the comment that the Predator had seen the tripwires, so that was the main reason why Schwarzenegger did the second time around when the net that they made out of vines and shit picked the Predator up, and he freaked out and fucking started shooting everywhere. That was the reason why he did all that shit in vines, and he specifically made the outside stuff to funnel the Predator into that area out of normal tripwires and stuff like that from their military kits. So the only place that didn't have a tripwire that he could see was actually funneled him inside that clearing where Schwarzenegger used himself as bait. So he really didn't have a choice but to use primitive, because if he'd have used anything at this point, he really didn't have anything to use that wasn't primitive. But if he had, and he would have used anything primitive, if for some reason, I don't know what it was without the helmet or whatever, but the Predator could see it.
Nice.
So I was a little disappointed that there was that I wanted to see them like physically fight each other. I was like, oh hell yeah, let's spear it up or get some like punches going on, and there's really not.
Schwarzenegger backhands him.
He just kind of ragdolls him, and then that was it.
Yeah, it just I was kind of disappointed by the ending. I was kind of like, okay, whatever. Now, I will say this. I enjoyed this movie a lot more now than I used to. I've come up on it. There are a lot of parts I really do enjoy, especially that middle part of the movie. But I still think there's a lot of really stupid shit in it, and I think the ending is kind of disappointing.
Okay.
But I am higher on it than I used to be. I would give this movie a passing grade. For sure.
Good to know.
Do you think, I'm curious, I guess, for everybody, if they didn't rescue him at the end of the movie, and whether, I don't know, he just stayed there and bled out, or they panned out and you don't know what happened, or they did the Thing type ending to it, do you think that would have been better or worse?
I think it's the same, because we still don't know anything after. What? Like, he tells that fucking girl to go to the American government chopper that you've been a domestic terrorist against. Go to there.
Yeah.
No, it's fucking stupid. So I think both endings would be fucking dumb. Even if he had just stayed there and died without us knowing. But I guess this way, at least we have the happy ending. Human overcame and beat the alien kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way they do it in 2 is way better. Because if you transplant that ending to 1, you get the information that it's not like a what's the word I'm looking for? An isolated thing. You learn that there's a whole race of these creatures. You learn that they've been hunting forever. You learn that they've done this to humans and other species in the past. Like, all of that information is way more than just he blows up and Arnold gets away. Or he blows up and Arnold dies.
That was the biggest thing that I liked about part 2, was seeing inside the ship and getting some of the history. That was one of the, like I said, I'm not saying that part 2 was a bad movie. It was just to me, other than that aspect of it, I didn't like it as much as the others. But that part of it, when you see, it's Danny Glover's in that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, when you see Danny Glover. Yeah, when you see him go into the ship, and he's, kind of learning the history about how they've been doing this over, thousands of years with humans, and you can see like different weapons from different eras in history and stuff like that. I thought that was really cool. That was a real cool aspect of it. Sure. But, it definitely gave it what the first one was lacking. So I agree with y'all on that. But then again, like I'm glad that they didn't really go into that much history on it in the first one, because that the lack of history in it kind of set us up for what we have of Predator today. And Paul and Jay, y'all haven't been to my house, but Jerry has, and I've got damn Predator busts sitting in my shelves in there next to where the alien stuff is. So
that's cool. I'll be curious to see what you think about the newest one.
I'm a huge Predator fan, so yeah, I mean, I kind of like the fact that we didn't get all of it because it birthed the rest of the series.
Very cool.
All right. Well, does anyone have anything else to say about Predator before we move on?
No, I think your assessment was actually very fair.
Yeah, I think I kind of explained that I have more of a nostalgic love for this, and I do rate this movie very high, but primarily I just rate my enjoyments kind of on a enjoyment level more than anything else. So to me, it's something that makes me feel good to rewatch it. So I understand people aren't as high as I am on it, but I hold this in a little bit of a high esteem to myself. So,
all right then, we are moving on to Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
I would do a walkthrough of this movie, but it would just me repeating a few things, and the movie would be done because
yep,
the storyline is barely there.
But it's good.
No, it's not. It is not good. Okay, here's your
one
fucking
of my favorite
story.
movies of all time, and is in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Just so all of our listeners know this.
Matrix is your favorite movie, and that movie's fucking garbage.
Yeah, I said one of, and I said in my top 10. Matrix is number one always. Everything else rotates depending on the day.
Okay, so in this movie we have cocky young Scientologist Tom Cruise.
Was he a Scientologist then?
I don't think so.
No,
does anybody know? Because I think you can see the shift in how good he is in his movies. Because I don't give a shit what Jerry says. He was good in this movie, and he was good in all the right moves and Cocktail and all them. I think you can see a shift in his movies where he gets balls deep into Scientology.
I think he's always good in his movies, but not all of his movies are good.
I'm not saying they suck.
Sure.
I'm just saying you can see the shift.
That's fair.
He acts like Chief Woodenhead in fucking Creepshow 2. It is his fucking...
He's in Creepshow
Arnold
2?
Schwarzenegger is literally about to make a fucking bow and arrow out of him. He is so wooden.
What?
His acting is fucking awful in this movie.
No. You don't have to like the dialogue or the plot, but his acting is great in this movie.
Really? You think
Yes.
his fucking acting in this movie is good? He has one good acting scene in this movie filled with a shit ton of other cringy acting in this movie.
I disagree.
I don't think he's too bad, but Val Kilmer is definitely bad.
The only good person in this entire movie is Goose.
Sure.
He is the only likable character.
I'll agree with that.
He's the funniest. He's the best actor. And his death is a complete fucking waste in the movie, but we haven't gotten to there yet. Okay, so this movie is about Tom Cruise. There's a whole lot of little things in this movie that they don't bother making actually important. And when they try to make it important, they just completely drop it to maybe just mention it later. The entire story is so fucking loose. It makes it hard to actually give a shit about any of these characters. Oh, well, my dad died in as a airplane jet pilot, and he fucking died mysteriously. They said he made a mistake. And we're going to bring this up a couple of times, but it never actually impacts the story.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Oh, if you're going to give me that shit at the end where I knew your dad and this is...
I'm gonna give you the fact that that's the reason why Maverick is the way he is. I watched the movie earlier today, and I was really, after the conversation that I had with you the other day, I was really paying attention to what was going on in the movie, even while I was driving. And I know we're not supposed to do that, but I was. And and the thing about it is damn, that's that whole thing right there is Maverick's character. He's spending his entire time trying to not only be better than the reputation that his father has, but try to be his own person on top of that. And you're going through the movie and you're sitting here and you're going back and forth of whether you hate the guy, whether you like the guy. He's fucking up. He's being a damn cock. And then he goes through something else and it fucking makes him look like a goddamn hero. And I think, in my personal opinion, I think that was one of the geniuses of this movie, is because you going back and forth between whether you fucking hate and love the guy. I mean, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I mean, it's constant throughout the whole damn movie. And then on top of that, you can, if you really pay attention to it, you can see the inner turmoil that's going on inside of him, because A, he doesn't really know what happened to his father. B, he's got to live up to the reputation of trying to be better than his dad's reputation.
Okay.
And all while at the same time being young and trying to be the best in this fucking elite group of guys.
If you want to see that storyline done well, go watch Creed. Because it's done properly. It is done so shitty in this movie. I never feel like there's enough of a connection to fucking anything at all. Like, every time they bring up his dad, it just almost feels like we got to push it forward a little bit. He's up here. Like, they try to make his dad his motivation, but it always just seems so generically done.
Yeah, and see, I disagree with that too, because I think it was done perfectly in this. And the reason why I say that is because at no point in time in this movie, other than when Goose dies, do I ever feel like I want to jerk off in my own fucking tears because of the sadness, the amount of sadness that he's in. I can see the turmoil, I can see the fucking battle that's going on inside of him, but at the same time, I'm not gonna goddamn want to jack off in my sadness because of fucking how bad Maverick has got it emotionally, which is also another thing that I think is fantastic.
I don't see that at all.
I completely get it.
He barely even acts emotional in this movie, except for like one scene. I mean, he barely acts in this movie to begin with, but he barely acts emotionally in this whole fucking movie, and it just feels like nothing feels like it connects for me in this movie. Like, even going to Goose's death, it feels like it comes out of nowhere. It does not have the impact I think it should have had. By
the way, I will concede to you, you were right. I really paid attention to that as well, Goose's death. And there is never a point in time where Maverick actually admits that he thinks it was his fault, that he thinks what happened was his fault. There's never a moment. So I will give that.
Notice that too.
No, okay. No.
You'd had to been in a conversation that Jerry and I.
Okay, yeah. Let me explain this. Okay, so I'll explain it 1 second. So I would say the one part that I think the movie does extremely well is Tom Cruise boxing up Goose's stuff. That is the one scene in this movie that I think is absolutely amazing. It is fucking fantastic. It is the only time where I actually feel like there is grief in Maverick, that there's something to him, and that's it. That is the only fucking time in this movie I haven't. But
yeah, it reminded me of when right after Alan died, and I went over to his house and I was in his room. That's what it reminded me of.
Like, that is done so well. Someone whose best friend just died, and they know they're never going to have that friend again. Now, I do not think they do a good job of showing that Maverick feels it's his that it's his fault. There is a line where Tom Cruise says it was his responsibility. It's said with no emotion behind it. And in the movie, they do not explain how whose fault it is for Goose dying. 2 times in the movie, they clearly state it is no one's fault. In the court-martial, they state it is no one's fault. Then, the main chick, whatever her name is, I can't remember at this point. Charlie Chaplin reviewed everything and was like, I reviewed all of the data and I'm this brilliant person when it comes to airplanes. It's not your fault. So therefore it's a freak accident. But even when I talked to Kenneth, he's like, well, no, it's because it's It is his fault because he was flying too dangerously close, so that when
Iceman's fault.
Well, see,
no. Okay, I will clearly state it's not Iceman's fault. Because if it's anyone's fault, I agree with Kenneth that it was Maverick's fault for following too closely, because Iceman's character follows the rules in safety to a T.
That's the reason why he's got his name.
So let me say this. The whole start of the engagement, Maverick calls lead. Iceman cuts him off. If Iceman had just let Maverick take the lead, it never would have happened. Maverick did fall too close, but he would have had no reason to fall too close had Iceman just accepted the fact that Maverick called it first.
It's no longer Maverick's responsibility to fly safely under guidelines because he was cut off? He no longer has that responsibility?
I mean, if we really start getting real thick into this, I mean, it's going to be one of those things where it's just going to be a constant back and forth, and nobody can come up with a legit answer. I'm not being funny about that. I'm being dead serious, because if you really start going into the details of what happened, you've got Iceman doing something wrong, you got Maverick doing something wrong, and when it really comes down to it, Iceman broke right, and goddamn Maverick got stuck in his jet wash. That's just what happened. It was a freak accident. That's the reason why I say I concede to Jerry. It was a freak accident. And I really don't think it was anybody's fault. It was just something that happened.
I still lean towards it. If it's anyone's fault, it's Maverick's fault, because he made the choice to follow too close. He let his ego get in the way.
Right.
Which is one of the better foreshadowing moments that they fucking completely goddamn drop, and it could have been an epic moment where Goose is like, I just want to graduate. And we can't be doing this flyby shit no more. We got to calm down. And because Maverick does not do that, because Maverick still decides to do whatever he wants, however he wants, he puts himself in a position to have that accident happen.
Right.
By making the choice to follow too closely.
And so, I mean, like I said, and even if you don't look at it from that standpoint, because Jerry, you make a great point. Even if you don't look at it from that standpoint or whatever, I can see it from Maverick's point of view, because, even if it wasn't his fault, like going back to when my buddy Alan died earlier this year, I was the one that convinced Alan to buy that Harley, the one that he's got, and that's what he died on. And I went for a good month and a half to 2 months after that, blaming myself for convincing him to buy that Harley. And so I can completely see, but that's more from a personal level. That's not from, me saying that this was it was fantastic because of great writing or whatever else. No, that's just strictly from a personal level. I can understand, I can understand what a person like that would be going through with himself, whether it was an accident or not, because hell, I wasn't riding with Alan that morning. I wasn't riding with him. I was at home asleep, waiting to get up and go to work. So it's one of those things, but I still wanted to blame myself just because I was linked at it just on that level by convincing him to buy the Harley.
Yeah, and I have no problem with Maverick blaming himself. I think anyone in that position would blame himself, and obviously he's dealing with that. But the problem I have with it is instead of showing that he's blaming himself, they do a much better job of showing that he lost his best friend. But because they try to force that blame himself angle in there, it hurts just him losing his best friend. Except for that one scene, like I said, that's absolutely magical. I 100% believe Tom Cruise in that moment. Especially when he's like handing the box to Goose's wife and shit. Yeah. So can we talk about some of the really cringy stuff in this movie?
Such as,
let's see if I agree with you.
Sure.
You're dangerous. That's right. I'm dangerous.
So I'd label that as cheesy, not really cringy.
Oh my god, no, that was so fucking cringy.
I love stuff like that.
Oh. That was just, there was a lot of like stupid shit like that, like the cliche line that Charlie gives him when she admits she's in love with him. She's like, but I also saw that you were a genius, but I couldn't say it because everyone would have saw through me and knew that I had fallen in love with you. And I'm like, did y'all get that off a Hallmark card?
Yeah, then they bang.
Oh, and the worst sex scene ever. Way too much tongue. Not
the
enough.
PG-13 sex scene.
Yeah, that is too much tongue for PG-13. Too much tongue. I will not allow it. At all. Also, this movie is nowhere near as gay as people say it is. Like, if your idea is gay is just because a bunch of guys are not wearing shirts, do you ever go to the beach? When you go to the beach, do you just fucking flip out? Like, how, like...
This beach is gay?
Yeah, just show up. This beach is gay. Someone call fucking Pence.
I need to put that on a
Get
shirt.
him down here. It's just
That's
like...
going on a tank top.
Yeah,
I
This beach is gay.
The most vibes were between Iceman and his wingman. I forget the wingman of Ice.
Okay.
They had the most sort of almost gay
Oh, yeah, 'cause
vibes,
there's
like
one
arm
scene,
around each other and that type of stuff.
Yeah, he looks at him and he goes, I'm hard, and the other one responds with, don't tease me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that was kind of gay. But other than that, there's nothing that gay in this movie.
No.
I
Oh, it's gay because they're in towels. Oh, it's gay because they're playing volleyball. Oh, it's gay because Tom Cruise is in underwear talking to another man. I'm just like...
It's gay because I think Val Kilmer's kind of pretty in this movie.
Val Kilmer is really pretty in this movie.
Yeah, and I can't
Oh.
say that if I was as close and him and Maverick were in some of those scenes that I probably wouldn't try to lick his nose or something.
Yeah, and this whole Maverick and Ice being in love, I don't see anything in this movie that supports that. They
I don't
barely have
You
a
shut your
rivalry.
whore mouth.
I'm
if
sorry.
I want to think they can fuck each other on a regular basis, I can think that. Don't
You
you?
can
afterward.
think that,
After
and
the final engagement, they go back to their quarters, and he's like, I'm sorry about Goose. He's like, it's okay.
Right.
so it's
I like
kind of
that.
like the end
See
of Lord
that?
of the
Jay's
Rings.
got the right idea.
But yeah, okay. So the rivalry, and I'm doing air quotes because you can't see it, between them barely fucking exists because once again the story is so goddamn loose. It feels like it's trying to do so many things at once, and it just can't quite make them attach because their rivalry is in the movie, barely there. The shit with his father is in the movie, barely there. The love interest is in the movie. That might be part of the best thing they did, like as for making it stick, but no one gave a shit.
I was just going to say, if
I
you say
give a
barely
shit.
there to the love interest, god damn it, the fucking music is based around their goddamn love interest.
I'll get to my rant about the soundtracks too.
You shut your whore mouth.
But
See, that's
literally,
number 2 on the whore mouth.
there
Right.
is no, like, I was sitting there the whole time waiting for this rivalry to really fucking spark and happen, and it didn't. And I told Kenneth, I was like, it's so weird to me that the thing that was supposed to keep their rivalry from being generic, which was Goose's death, still makes their rivalry so fucking generic it's barely there. Like this was supposed to make it more interesting, and it doesn't. The rivalry just completely goes away. You forget all about it, and then it becomes about fucking his PTSD. But then they barely focus on that. And
I really like the scene where Ice is in the locker room and he's trying to talk to Maverick, and you can see that he wants to kind of tell, and this is what I got from it. You can see where he's kind of wanting to tell Maverick, he's just like, hey man, I'm sorry. And he's like wanting to say, but you got to let it go. You got to get back on the wagon. But then he thinks better of himself or thinks better of Maverick's personality and doesn't say it. And then he starts to do it again. And then he's like, fuck it, I'm sorry. And then walks off. I really like that scene.
yeah, it's another scene that I think could have been way better. Like, there could have been something in that scene, whether it was Maverick blowing up or even Ice bringing up the guy in the beginning of the movie that freaks out and can't fly because him
Cougar.
and Ice are cool. Yeah, Cougar. Him and Ice are cool. Another thing that that comes up once between Ice and Maverick and then is never fucking talked about again. And it seems like it's going to be, something that builds their rivalry. And then just never done. Because they're so loose with fucking everything. So, it's just like... I am. But I feel like there's a lot of things in this movie that could have been, like, if they would have tightened it up and really focused on it and actually made it into the story instead of playing the same fucking 6 songs over and over and over again in the movie so they could have cool airplane shots, which I'll give it to them. The cinematography for the airplanes are great, but I can't keep up with a goddamn thing happening in any of the airplane scenes at all. I have no idea who's doing what. I can't do it. Kenneth says he can.
Yeah, I completely can, because they clearly make the planes for the enemies look different than the F-14s. The MiGs look completely different than the F-14s that the main guys are flying in.
Yeah, and I'm not going to give it points off for that, because for me, I could not keep interest in these airplane battles because I could not tell what the fuck was going on, because the way they edited it was so just like the only long shots you ever got was if they're trying to lock on a missile, or it was the guy in the back who had to whip his head around to see the airplane fly by, because apparently that's his only fucking job in this entire movie, because every person in the back of one of those fucking airplanes, all they do is whip their head around to look at the airplane.
Yeah, I don't know what they actually do.
Flies away.
That would make me nauseous.
It is
that would
what they
make me more nauseous than fucking the spins and the goddamn
radar
and shit.
Yeah, that person's supposed to be radar. They're supposed to be help navigating, keeping up with the enemy and all that kind of shit. I
was always confused in some of the scenes where they have these MiGs. I'm like, where are they coming from? Like, who is the enemy, or are they just some other?
They're Russian
military, but they just kind of
military.
they fly around, and then they're like, "Hey, we see you flying around," and then they're like, "Oh shit, let's get out of here."
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. It was
all those
a lot
exchanges
of
were weird. So
the Cold War, like testing each other's boundaries, kind of stuff.
Okay.
To be fair, only the beginning and the ending engagement are actually the enemy. The rest is Top Gun school.
Right.
Yeah, trying to catch Viper.
Yeah.
Which was
Tom Skerritt was amazing in this movie, just like he's amazing in every other movie he's in.
Is he the guy that knew Tom Cruise's dad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The guy from
that
Alien.
Tom Skerritt's Viper.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah, I like him.
Of course he did. He's fucking amazing.
The soundtrack for this movie is fucking awful. They have 6 songs and they play Danger Zone 3 times.
Yeah.
They play the fucking love song between Tom Cruise and Charlie when they're fucking. Like they play it 3 times, but it's all in the span of like this 10-minute section where they start playing it, they drop it off, then it comes right back, then they drop it off, then it comes right back.
Don't forget about Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah.
They play Great Balls of Fire once.
Yep.
Which is good, because that's how many times you're supposed to play a fucking song in a movie. And then they play the karaoke song twice, and at the end of it, the last one, at the end of the movie, you realize that Charlie actually is Batman with those goddamn sneak skills. Because I swear Commissioner Gordon was in there like, where did Charlie go? What the fuck?
At the Kansas City barbecue.
Now...
I know that
I have actually eaten there.
Yeah, at the end of the movie, where she comes back to Tom Cruise, Kenneth is eating there.
Yeah, after he, when he's sitting at the bar and he's got the Top Gun hat on there after the battle at the end of the movie, and she comes back and finds him. Mm-hmm. That bar, yeah, I've eaten there. It's Kansas City barbecue in the middle of San Diego, California.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's
the only place you can get sweet tea.
You know the Danger Zone song, right? There was another clip from Family Guy that wasn't in the thing that I sent to Jerry with all the Family Guy references of Top Gun. But there was another time where Peter was watching a video and that Danger Zone song was in it. And then he goes, "Oh my God, he's just rhyming Danger Zone with Danger Zone." And I always thought that was hilarious. So every time I hear the song now, it just makes me think of that stupid Family Guy clip where I'm like, he's just rhyming Danger Zone with Danger Zone over and over.
When I think of Danger Zone, I think of Archer. So my dad 8 years after this movie came out, my dad actually drank with the actress who played Charlie in a bar in Key West. But he said she had gained weight and had no makeup on. It was not looking good, no matter how many beers he drank.
That's fucking hot.
She doesn't even look good in this movie. Like,
I agree. Okay,
outfit.
What?
let's talk about this because me and Kenneth
I'm
brought
done.
this up. She is not attractive in this
fuck
movie.
You, Paul. You're out.
She looks like a slightly fatter in the face Kim Cattrall. Period.
Yeah.
Now, Goose's wife was fucking hot.
Yeah,
That's
Meg
Meg
Ryan. Yes.
Yeah, she's hot.
I like her.
Disagree. I'm not. I've never really been a big fan of Meg Ryan. I
You
don't know what
hate
it
it,
is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. At this point, I'd stick my dick in a watermelon. But damn, I've just never really thought. I don't know. There's just something about Meg Ryan that I just never have. Like her as an actress, I've never really been fond of. I'm not saying that she doesn't have, skill and chops as an actress, but she's not one of those that I'll just seek out to watch a movie with her in it.
Right. Yeah, I never was big on the Kelly McGillis bandwagon from this movie. I didn't really get it, so.
Yeah,
But-
I don't either.
Sorry.
Fun random fact. Do you want to know what my first screen name was back
Yes.
when we first had AOL?
What's that?
My dad made my screen name. Keep that in mind. Top Gun 1014.
Did your dad like Top Gun?
My dad loved Top Gun. He got
Sounds
pissed
like a
off at
stand-up
me
guy.
because I was talking to him and I told him I was about to watch it for the podcast. And I was like, and he was like, "Oh, I love Top Gun." I was like, "Really? You love a movie about the Air Force?" And then he yelled at me for 5 minutes straight about how it's the Navy and not the
Yeah.
Air Force.
I was just about to ask, was your dad on the aircraft carriers and shit with the jets?
Yeah, he was.
Okay, I'm gonna totally ask him questions the next time I go over there.
Nice.
Yeah, he can answer all that shit. So I'm trying to think. Does the Navy? I need to call him and ask him if the Navy would have really let Iceman have frosted tips.
Maybe.
I really want to know.
I honestly don't think they'd have given a shit. I think it's all got to do about the facial hair.
Yeah.
I mean, being perfectly honest, I think, because, I think I could be completely mistaken, but I think it's the Army and the Marines that have the most strict thing on head hair. I think those are the ones that are the most strict.
So, another question I have for all three of you.
Okay.
How do you feel about Maverick throwing Goose's dog tags into the ocean?
So, I would assume that his wife/son got their own copy of them.
Do they make 2 dog tags? I thought you only get 1 pair of dog tags.
When someone dies, I think you can request a copy of them.
So-
Essentially,
Is your dad
Okay.
online?
No, I will find out though, because I
Either
want to
way.
know this.
Either
Okay,
way,
okay.
even if I'm
Let's,
wrong,
no, yeah, okay, hold up.
obviously he
Take
has
that
them.
out though. Take
Okay.
that out. Say
Okay.
we only know that he has what the movie shows us and he has Goose's actual dog tags.
Sure.
So they are his if he has them. They were given to him. I'm assuming that he wouldn't have fought Goose's wife over them if she actually wanted them, if there is only 1 pair. Them being his, it's his emotional connection to them, so it's his choice if he wants to get rid of them. I wouldn't have. If I had my dad's dog tags from when he was in the reserves, I would not get rid of them. But with that, if it's like a physical representation of him moving on. So if that's what he needs to become emotionally stable again, then that's up to him.
I mean, he could have thrown it into a pool next to Goose's son. I just thought it was really fucking weird that they did that. I'm like, yo, he has a son.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure his son would have really appreciated that, because I'm pretty sure Goose gave more shit about his son than his fucking dog tags being at the bottom of the ocean doing nothing.
Maybe.
Right.
We don't know. His son could have been an asshole.
Well, I
His
think
son wasn't an asshole. We saw his son. He was a fucking delight.
he
We'll
seemed
find
fine.
out when Top Gun 2 hits theaters next year.
That's right.
Woo!
I will not.
I think that the whole movie, we spend a lot of time trying to justify the fact that Tom Cruise is just sort of a narcissist asshole himself. And they try and make you like him despite the fact that he has these flaws. But really, at the end of the day, it's like he's just sort of selfish and a crybaby and overly dramatic about everything and does whatever he feels like and doesn't care about anyone else. And so it's like, I'm buying into what here exactly?
Yeah, like every character to me in this movie is unlikable. They are annoying. I just fucking hate everyone except for Goose and his Goose's family is great.
Yes.
Second best Goose ever after Goose from Grease 2. And
Mother Goose.
Mother Goose is a third. But for me, this movie is super generic. The story is so fucking loose. The characters are unlikable. The romantic angle is in there too much and it's uninteresting. The rivalry doesn't exist. The homosexuality I was promised did not deliver. The biggest thing I can also let me continue these complaints. The soundtrack's repetitive. They wasted Goose's death. The only good thing I can give this movie is the one really, really good scene in the movie with Tom Cruise dealing with Goose's death when he's packing his box, and that the cinematography for the airplane fights were good, even if I couldn't keep up with them.
Fucking love this movie.
It wasn't. I can understand. I can't even really understand anyone loving this movie. It's so loose with everything that that scene where Charlie is at the fucking airport and he's drinking his glass of water because he's quitting, and she's like giving him the speech. I was like, I don't care what fucking speech you're talking about, what you're saying, as long as you make this story move forward. Because I just want it to keep going and go, and instead it does everything it can to elongate this movie. You could trim 30 minutes out of this movie.
Does everything it can to elongate my penis.
There's nothing in this movie to elongate your penis.
There's plenty of things to elongate my penis. I think
get
Charlie
hard just watching the jets take off, so I don't know about you guys.
I mean, that beginning scene where it's like it starts up and you can see the stuff with the jets and they're getting it all ready and things like that, and then the fucking jet takes off and it breaks off into goddamn that fucking key song that's in it that's escaping my fucking danger zone. When it breaks off into that, man, it's just fucking. I'm just like, yes, let's go, let's do this, motherfucking Top Gun, Tom Cruise, Maverick Goose, let's get it on.
This movie, I learned one thing from this movie. Literally one thing. And that is, in the first level of Top Gun for the NES, apparently you're playing as Cougar, and that's why you can't land the plane.
Well, I'm going to put it to
You
you like
can
this.
land the plane. It's very easy.
The second thing that you've learned
joke,
is that
Jay.
you're just
It's
going
funny,
to
unlike this movie.
Give me the laser disc.
I'm going to fucking break the laser disc.
That's terrible.
Oh, that's mean.
Break it, set it on fire, and just piss on its ashes.
Fuck that. We don't burn laser discs. We don't burn laser discs. We don't burn books. We don't burn other things like
Probably
that.
bad for the environment.
I've totally rolled a joint out of a piece of from the Bible.
That's acceptable.
I was talking about the whole book.
I never have done that, but
I'm pretty sure I've set a whole
tastes
Bible on fire.
Awful.
that's probably why I haven't done it.
Well, no. You use that piece of paper that's in the very beginning of the Bible that has nothing written on it.
It still tastes awful to me.
It's still shitty paper.
Yeah, it always has.
Whatever. Who
tasted
cares?
awful.
Kenneth, shut up. We used to smoke out of aluminum fucking cans.
Oh, yeah,
I
those
have
are awesome.
very fond memories of smoking out of aluminum can.
I love can pipes.
Yeah, man. I mean, the very first time I ever got stoned was through a can pipe.
You just crush that fucker, throw it away.
Yeah.
Get yourself a new one next time.
That's how I didn't get caught by my parents then. I did later, but not then.
God.
Right.
So, yeah. My rating for Top Gun is fuck this movie. I think I've explained how I feel about this movie. It sucks. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one because people just love this movie. And a lot of people probably will not even listen to any of my complaints, but I think if you listen to my complaints about how loose the story is and how the rivalry is barely there, how Goose's death is wasted, how the romantic interest is used way too much. I guess they wanted to get... This almost could be a chick flick.
But it's got jets.
Sure.
Like, it looks like...
So does my backpack.
Yeah.
Goddamn right. But it just feels like... I don't know. I do not get what people like about this movie. So because of that, I'm now going to turn it over to the guys and let them tell you what they love about the movie. Because you've listened to me rant for like 20 minutes straight about how I hate this movie.
Okay.
So Jay, go ahead.
Okay. So I'll actually agree with you that the story is very generic. That I agree with. But like most action-oriented movies, I don't care. I don't care. I'm there to watch cool shit, and the majority of the movie is jets fighting each other, and that's fucking cool. So that's what keeps me entertained. I don't care that the lines are cheesy. I don't care that every other plot point is kind of minor as it goes through. It's enough. It is a generic story. It's about, the guy loses his friend, and that's used as motivation for him to become a better person. And by the end of the movie, he is a better person. So look at the entire movie. He keeps leaving his wingman. He leaves Cougar at the beginning. He leaves, I want to say Hollywood in the middle. And by the end of the fucking movie, he's finally like, okay, I'm not going to leave, even though there's an enemy jet right behind me. So he finally learns his fucking lesson.
Whoa. First of all, he does leave and then comes back after he gets done freaking out.
No, he never engages in the first place. Once he finally engages, he sticks with Iceman the entire time, like he's supposed to.
Yeah, Jay's right. He never really engages until that one point where everything comes clear. Then he actually does, and fucking there he is.
Fine, I'll give you all that, but to me, I'm like, you're in it as soon as you fly out there. I don't like. I know they have their engaged thing, but you flew out there, and then you were like,
"Man,
"This
I don't
in danger."
No, I'm not a soldier.
I'm gonna fly back because this is not safe, guys.
But it's
I'm
not like
out
he
of
went
here.
back. He just never joined the. Like he flew to where the fight was happening, but he never actually got in the fight.
Yep, and then he watched all them jets spin around in circles, and they look like fucking bees buzzing around. If you look at that scene, that's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah, and the only thing he does learn is to not leave his wingman, because other than that, he flies just as fucking dangerously as he was doing before. That's it. He learned
that's
one
also
thing,
like
which had nothing to do with Goose's death.
There's but the thing about it is the unfortunate thing about that, and I will say unfortunate, is that even his recklessness is part of his genius as being a pilot. He's not supposed the stupid shit that he does, like leaving his wingman and stuff like that, is what gets him in the bullshit to begin with. But at the same time, also some of his recklessness is part of his genius. I mean, they say that in the movie.
I agree with you, but here's my thing. This is why I say Goose's death is wasted. He never learns anything from Goose's death. What he learned is to never leave his wingman because he lost a match because he left the wingman. He lost a game because he left the wingman. But he
didn't correct his behavior after he lost. He corrected his behavior after his friend died.
Which had nothing to do with him leaving his wingman.
It just made him a better team player in general.
It depends on how you look at it, because if you look at it,
at all.
If you look at it from that perspective, what started the whole goddamn thing about Goose going to Maverick and being like, "Hey, we got to stop fucking damn doing this craziness."
Him going
or whatever.
below the hard deck.
Yeah, it was goddamn him leaving his wingman.
No. He did not have a wingman during that fight.
It was him going below the hard deck after they got yelled at because Goose didn't want to get kicked out or demoted or any other negative effect from not following the rules.
Goose went to him after that because he was still flying way too dangerously, and it was going to get them kicked out because he was too reckless.
So did the thing where he ended up leaving him again when he went after Viper? That was after that.
That was after the
correct,
heart
and that was just him losing a game. That was it. He just lost points.
Yeah, because if I'm not, but the only reason why I'm correlating it to it is because I remember specifically Goose getting upset with Maverick because he was doing the very fucking same thing over again.
Yeah, but that was before he that was before him trying to get Viper. He left his wingman to get Viper.
Right.
That Goose had already came to him and talked to him before that.
Okay.
Because and that's my point is what he learns at the end has nothing to do with Goose's death, has nothing to do with what Goose was concerned about at all. Like, that's what I'm saying. There's so many things that, like, here it is, and then they never touch it. They never use it again. It's presented, and then it's taken to the back to be forgotten about as they bring up something new. That's why I say the story is so loose and everything's so generic that nothing fucking lands. And y'all might be right. I may be looking too far into this, but I don't care what you are. If you are a form of entertainment, especially if you're a book or a comic or a movie
or a stripper
or a TV show or a stripper, you're supposed to be telling a story. That is the number one thing that you do, is tell a story. It has a beginning, it has a middle, it has an end. Your characters, everything revolves around the fucking story. And this movie was like, we got to write a script for this. No, fuck it. Just put a couple of bullet points and film the airplane.
So
that's what happened.
I can see that. For me personally, since this isn't a horror coliseum, I don't have to be objective. For me personally, I watch action movies for the same reason I watch horror movies. When I watch a slasher, I don't give a fuck about the story. I want to watch a dude or a lady kill a whole bunch of people in entertaining ways. When I watch an action movie, I want to watch entertaining action sequences. I don't care if the story doesn't make any sense or if it's very basic. Maverick's story is a very basic hero's journey that's been used in storytelling since the dawn of time. And I don't care about that because what the story surrounds is entertaining enough to have me watch it over and over and over again.
I guess to me, the airplane scenes are not entertaining. Most of them are two shots. A shot inside the cockpit or a shot of them trying to missile lock. And it's not entertaining because any shots you get of the actual airplanes are literally them just flying one after another, flying past each other, and that's about it.
Well, that's what dogfighting is.
Yeah, but it's just not entertaining when like, oh, he's shot. We're just going to do a close-up of the airplane where all you see is just this 1 4-foot section of steel and put some bullet holes in it.
Well, that's like, because it would be almost impossible to actually film fake bullet holes in the air.
I agree with you. I told Kenneth this also. I understand why they had to film the cinematography for the planes the way they did, because they really didn't have the technology to really do anything crazy. But for me, the airplane scenes are not entertaining. I don't even see a lot of action in them.
And that's fair. It's okay if you don't find them entertaining. That's just my personal reason why I like the movie so much. Because you said you don't understand why people like the movie, and I almost always want to play fucking what is that game? Ace Combat after I'm done watching Top Gun. I'm like, I want to play in the jets. I watched it as a kid. It entertained me more then, and so it's kind of just stuck with me.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like 90% of the airplane, the jets in this movie are close-up shots with 10% of it being wide shots. And it's a lot of like jump cut between close-up to close-up to close-up to close-up.
It's like The Wizard for me. I know that The Wizard is not a good movie, but I watch the shit out of that because it still entertains me.
It has better actors. All right, so Paul, why do you love this movie?
It's funny you should.
Or if you hate this movie, I'm completely cool with that, and it will get you more guest spots on this show.
It's funny you should mention that because I've been a little bit quiet on defending this one because I'm actually not the biggest fan of it. This was actually something I watched this a lot as a kid because I guess we didn't have that many movies to choose from, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool. There's planes
Oh yeah, apparently.
and volleyball and guys that are way too sweaty all the time, which I don't understand why they're always so sweaty."
Those flight
But,
suits are hot, and it's in California.
And so I'm like, I always liked it as a kid, watched it a lot. I hadn't seen it in forever, and when I watched it now, I was like, I could see why people like this, but it's not really my thing. I'm not big on more of the dramatic action movies are not so much my thing. I like more less dramatic and more cynical and kind of dangerous ones as opposed to the developing of a character or somebody's redemption or something.
Such as
isn't as appealing to me like this. So,
All right, Kenneth, what'd you say?
I said such as what kind of movie was he talking about?
oh well, I mean something in Predator where it's more of a straightforward. I'm the tough guy. I'm going to come in and do my job, as opposed to like Tom Cruise has this character flaw that he has to go through all this quote unquote learning and growing in order to become the Top Gun pilot that he's meant to be or whatever. So I'm not as big on that kind of movie of like the hero's journey in this particular case, I guess you could call it. So,
I got you.
it's a good movie. I don't hate it. I mean, if I was rating it for my show, it'd be like in the 6.5 to 7 out of 10 range. So it's not like I'm saying
That's
this movie
fair.
sucks. But a little too much romance and drama for me, and I don't like a lot of romance and drama. I don't like a lot of feelings for the most part. If I can avoid that, I try not to feel.
Yeah, I know. I've heard you talk about your
So,
kids.
I bet
Uh,
Jerry would like Iron Eagle.
I don't know what to do.
I don't remember that one at all.
Oh
You
man,
know what kind of action movies I like?
Hmm.
I like buddy cop action movies. Lethal Weapon,
Yeah, funny stuff. I
Beverly
like that.
Hills, Cop. Like Rush Hour. Like I love buddy cop.
You would like
Sure.
48 hours and another
Yeah, 48 hours.
Yeah. All right. Kenneth, why do you love this movie?
When it really comes down to it, I mean, it's just it's overall, it's a fun movie. It's one of those that I watched a lot when I was growing up as a kid. I do see things a little bit more deeply, as I've explained earlier about Maverick's character and stuff like that. I mean, and like you and I had talked about before when we were discussing that, I don't have a problem seeing everything coming around in this movie full circle. I don't. I don't feel like things were overly executed in this movie, but I also don't think they were, with the exception of maybe one or two things, completely under executed. I mean, I think this movie is basically, it's sought out to be what you described it to be.
Sure.
Put up some bullet points and throw some fucking flying in it, and we got us a movie.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much what it is. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. And the thing about it is, I think that they put it together pretty well. And I can get a little bit deeper in some of the other things like I've described earlier. And I just enjoyed it. I never had a problem keeping up with what was going on with the fighting. I never had a problem keeping up with what was going on with Maverick's story. I mean, all the rest of those things. I mean, it was just this time around when I was really paying attention to everything that was going on specifically for this show, I did not have a problem with the majority of any of it, other than, I will give it that Val Kilmer's acting was not the greatest, except for that one scene that I mentioned earlier. His acting wasn't the greatest, and there were probably other things, but then there was other stuff that I thought was great, like at the beginning of it when right after Cougar turns in his wings, and you got the other guy that's over Goose and Maverick, and he's sitting there and he's like, if y'all screw up just this much, you'll be flying a cargo plane full of rubber dog shit out of Hong Kong. That was fucking superb, man. That was hilarious. And so I think it's a combination of the two, man. I mean, it's nostalgic. It's got good elements to it. And it, in my opinion, it was easy to follow. So I just enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. And, like I said earlier, the character of Maverick, you go back and forth through the whole goddamn movie, whether you love him or whether you fucking hate him. It's
Mhm.
like, you know, in one scene, he's a complete fucking cock who has a complete disregard for anybody else's safety and things like that. And then he fucking jumps in his goddamn jet and he goes and he does something that's fucking amazing. You know, like when he's fighting up against, not Viper, but the other guy. And this is one of those things where I think to myself all the time, why do people not fucking do this in movies? Where you're having this fucking chase scene that's going on, whether it be in jets or in cars, and nobody slams on the motherfucking brakes so the person can go by. Maverick did that in the movie. You know what I'm saying? He's just like, I'm gonna fucking slam. Well, he didn't say fucking, but he's like, I'm gonna slam on the brakes and he'll fly right by, and he does it. And I'm like, finally, somebody fucking does that in a movie because it makes perfect fucking sense.
You know what I just realized? Your description of Maverick is basically Goku.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, yeah, you're right.
Because he's not the best automatically. Iceman is arguably a better pilot the entire movie.
And then until the very end where he comes up and wins. Just like Goku, who constantly gets his ass beat until the last second where he comes up with some fucking generic advanced superpower technique to win. Because Goku is also one of the worst written, generic, fucking horrible characters ever, especially in Dragon Ball Super.
I cannot disagree with Jerry on that
Who
one.
No, I
fucks their
agree with
wife
that, but-
and has never kissed their wife? How does that even make sense?
It doesn't make sense. He put his tail in her, then the tail disappeared, and it's never mentioned again.
Oh boy.
Fucking stupid. But yeah, okay. So you've all heard it here. We all fucking hate Top Gun. We think it's a stupid movie. Listen here, I get to edit this, and I edited it how I want. They heard
this
that
movie.
you all hated this movie.
I'm
This
gonna
movie
have
is terrible.
a profile picture to Tom Cruise.
No. Fuck no. Unless it's Tom Cruise in Interview with the Vampire, because I think that's the only movie he's in that I
Sending you, I'm
enjoy.
gonna pay her to do it. I'm gonna PayPal her money. Like get a hold of Jerry's phone, change his password, make his profile pic Tom Cruise, make his
Oh, boy.
status I love Top Gun. Here's $50.
And then lock the account.
Yeah, well, not forever. I need him to have it for Kill the Cast stuff, but just enough so that we'll see that his profile picture's Tom Cruise and that he actually loves Top
Hey,
Gun.
Paul, do you want to be on a new podcast? I think we're losing the host.
I
might be able to
fucking
make
fired
some time.
Paul earlier.
Oh. Well, shit.
I do have weird tastes in movies. So.
Okay. So
I don't want
that's
to do Interview with the Vampire on the show, though.
that's not an action movie.
I don't give a fuck.
Stop.
I guess we could do that for Kill the Cast. Yeah,
I
Vampire.
mean, goddamn, don't people know that at this current moment we do what the fuck we want on Kill the Cast?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
I
That's
mean,
true.
War Coliseum, Queen of the Damned versus Interview with the Vampire.
oh, fucking Interview with the Vampire, fucking goddamn beat Queen of the Damned all day long.
I've never
I
actually-
don't-
just know they're about the same.
Except in soundtrack.
Well, that's true.
Good point.
Where, yeah, because that's the only fucking good thing about Queen of the Damned. The rest of the movie was
Whoa,
absolutely.
whoa. The way Aaliyah looked was very good in that movie.
Do you know that it is as much as I love half naked women, if not naked, damn, as hot as she looked in that, I was totally ruined because of how unlike the source material. And you know what? I realized that sometimes, and we've talked about it on the show, that you can't be so critical with the source material. That movie was so far removed from the source material that it should not have fucking been called Queen of the Damned.
Maybe we need to do a horror coliseum where we compare the book versus the movie.
It'd have to be a book I've already read.
No, go fuck yourself. You're gonna.
Yeah,
read
but
it.
see, that would take time because if you haven't read it, then you would have to have the time to read it or listen to the audiobook.
Yeah,
Exactly.
maybe there's cliff notes.
What is
Well,
this
whatever.
book?
Fuck it.
We could do
So-
Hellraiser. I read that book.
That's true. Okay, so that's it, guys. That was Jerry Hates Action number
Nice.
2. Before we get out of here, though, I want to throw it over to Paul. Paul, pimp your stuff. Tell people what you got coming out, what you're doing. Tell them what you do on your show.
Sure. And well, before I do that, I just wanted to say thanks again for inviting me to come on. It was fun just to kind of get in and mix it up with you guys. It's always nice to actually have a real conversation about things as opposed to just through texting or Facebook or something. So I appreciate the opportunity here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on and listening to me rant.
Yeah, no problem.
Hour and a half straight.
I'm glad you enjoyed yourself, Paul.
Sure. The show is called Who Will Survive. We do horror movie reviews. It's mostly Marco and I, and sometimes we'll have some guests. And I try to do interviews with more independent movie directors, writers, actors, whatever I can manage to latch my hooks into through social media stalking and get them wrangled into an interview through Skype with us. So we've had some cool people come on to do interviews in the past year that we've been doing the show. And then I do a Friends Till the End series that Jerry mentioned, which is just myself without Marco, and I just bring on random people to kind of do a sort of a interview / conversation. So it's kind of a mix of both things, but just more of an open format talk. So
yeah, if you like the interview shows I do, but you're like, Jerry, quit talking about depression and suicide with these people, and you'd rather listen to people get high and then talk about like just really interesting, funny things, go listen to Friends to Lead because it's a blast.
Thank you.
I did an episode of it, and it was just a super fun time. I think I ranted about PG-13 movies.
Yeah, and
you're not one of them, are you?
No, I ranted about how people are dumb to hate PG-13 horror movies.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Because unless it's a slasher, it's okay. Slashers need to be an R. I don't give a shit what you say. That's the fucking exception to the rule.
Sure.
Paul, you should look into narrating documentaries.
Oh, thank you. My voice, are you saying?
Yeah, straight up.
I've been trying to work on having a more even tone and being more straightforward with my thoughts. I'm very critical of myself.
Yeah,
maybe I can get a job as like a nature documentary narrator guy because I love watching those things anyways.
Yeah, legitly. Before Paul actually started his podcast, he spent like 3-4 months just like testing and doing research. Like one night I just got on to Skype with him just so he could test out his equipment.
Right.
I remember when he messaged me because he had finally got it down to like 2 different names for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what the other one was.
I don't even remember anymore.
I didn't vote for that one, so I didn't give a shit. I was like, oh, Who Will Survive? You can do so much with that.
Sure.
But the dedication Paul put into getting the podcast ready and making it, and then when you listen to it, it's super well produced.
Thank you.
Fantastic conversations. Oh, yeah. Unlike Kill the Cast, because I don't produce shit.
I get on here with a southern accent, sound like I'm fucking from the boondocks out some goddamn where, and then I say as many cuss words as I can muster.
Yeah.
Hey, that's fine too. Southern accents are allowed. Swearing is allowed. We just try to keep it pretty loose on our show too. We just have been shifting more to an open conversation as our main focus instead of having super in-depth review, and it works for us for now. So we'll see how that goes. But we're coming up on 1 year of the show, so
conversation-based reviews are really like some of the best ones we've ever done. Were where we just flat out had a conversation about the movie. It went wherever it went, and then whenever there was a sticking point, we would just really get into it.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Those are my favorite episodes that we do.
Like The Village.
Nice.
Yes,
So,
that's the one when people are like, "What episode?" I'm like, "Listen to the fucking Village. That's a great episode."
right. Yeah, you guys kind of inspired me to shift into a little bit more open conversation as well as some other shows because I would try different review styles of like going through a linear timeline and doing different topical type of things or whatever, like, and I like that you do sort of the rating show for the horror Coliseum and stuff. So we kind of try to fuck around a little bit and do different ideas and just keep it interesting. So, but yeah,
Horror Coliseum is the only place where we do rate things because we completely stopped rating movies when we review.
So yeah, we're coming up on 1 year of the show, which we have another review episode coming out before that, and then we're going to do kind of a 1 year retrospective where we're not going to review any movies. We're going to kind of review the past year of the show and just go through and it's like, oh, remember episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, and
so
hopefully it won't be
tip,
too boring.
for one of I think it was I can't remember if it was our 1 year anniversary or 2 year. I think it was 1 year anniversary.
Mhm.
Might have been 2 year. I don't know.
Actually, we thought it was our 1 year, and then halfway through, we discovered it was our 2nd year.
Yeah. I went through and I was just like naming off every episode we've ever done
Mhm.
and like talking a little bit about it. And I got so many people that were just like, why did you do that? That was dumb.
Well,
And I
prepare
was
for a
like, it
dumb
was
episode.
fun at the time.
So,
Oh, wait, I thought you were talking about our mishap with Evil Dead. What are you talking about?
When I sat there and named like every episode we ever did on the show and
Oh,
that
yeah.
it was fun for me, damn it. Fuck
Yeah.
it.
It was fun for me, too.
By the way, Jerry is the only one out of the 3 of us that doesn't have a Nightbreed hoodie.
Oh, did you get one? Nice.
Fuck yeah, I did, man. Yeah, mine came in.
It's super
yesterday.
fucking comfortable, too.
I was surprised at the quality of the hoodie when I got it. I was like, I thought it was just going to be like one of those, cheap $10 Walmart hoodies with the badass print on it. The
Nice.
inside of that fucking thing is soft, man.
Yes.
Yeah, well, fuck
So
you. I've got a
here's a
Pumpkinhead
little
baseball
advertisement. HorrorMerch.com. Very comfortable hoodies with awesome horror prints on them. Some
Not
exclusive
to
designs.
not to be confused with horrorporn.com.
Yeah,
It's
where you
very
could get your
comfortable.
rocks off watching
Yeah.
someone get rocked off.
All right.
right?
Yeah,
All
horror
right,
porn.
I gotta-
Horror porn, very comfortable masturbation material.
Nice.
Oh my god. Okay. This is about to hit 2 hours. I'm wrapping it up. Everyone go check out Paul on Who Will Survive.
Yeah, thank
He
you.
is on the Legion Network, and he's also on Raw and Unedited?
Oh, the other
Raw Live?
Raw Live and
What?
Unedited Podcast Network.
Yeah, Raw Live and Unedited Podcast Network. If you're into that network, has a lot more for comic books and Star Wars and Marvel,
Right.
and shit like that. Marco does a Star Wars podcast, so check that
Yes,
out. I think the only podcast review I actually listened to for The Last Jedi was you and Marco's.
Oh, nice.
Did you like
That
it or
was
hate
it.
it?
I liked it, yeah, but
Okay,
I'm
that's it. That's
soft
all I
on
need to
those
know.
kind of
We
things.
don't need
so,
to get into it.
yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, guys, thank you for joining us. We needed a little break from Horror Coliseum, but next episode will be Horror Coliseum number 6, where we're doing Nightmare on Elm Street 6 versus Friday the 13th, part 6. I'm starting to lose my mind here. So, with that being said, we're about to get the fuck out of here. Check out everything Kill the Cast does, of course, because if you don't, I don't know, Kenneth will go find you. So we're about to get out of here. Jay, any last words?
No, this was fun. We definitely should. I want you to check out Iron Eagle. I think it's another Jet movie from the same time period, but it's more adventure. I think you'll actually get a kick out of it.
Oh, okay. Paul, any last words?
Yes, my last words are highway to the danger zone, ride into the danger zone.
Did you just rhyme Danger Zone with Danger Zone?
Thank
my
you
God.
to Kenny Loggins.
Yes.
And Kenneth, do you have any last words?
I really would like to see strippers do a storytelling of like Macbeth or something.
I'd pay for that.
I like
Okay, there you go. Sign up for the Patreon for strippers reading Macbeth or some shit.
New
All right.
idea.
Later, guys.
Hamlet strippers.